Hello, welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Sorry, this one's come out a little bit later in the day than it would normally, so apologies for that. Some interesting things to talk through actually today. A couple of new walkthroughs and then some extra things, some like long form articles to read and things like that. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to let you know about is a new walkthrough that the Microsoft Teams documentation team have put together, and this is for building apps with Blazor. So if this is you and you want to build tabbed applications with Blazor, right now you could do this with the Teams toolkit, but you can only build tabbed based apps. You can't build bots or messaging extensions in Blazor. I mean, you can, you just can't do it using the Teams toolkit with the scaffolding. There is no kind of scaffolding capabilities right now for doing that thing. But there is scaffolding capability with Teams Toolkit for building a tabbed application in Blazor. And now there is a walkthrough to help you do it. So this is the walkthrough. It's really nice. And yeah, it kind of goes through the process of kind of setting it all up, what you have to do and how to go. And then, you know, it basically gets you to the point of you're ready with your first sample, and then you can kind of take it from there. So I can't really remember if this is an updated version or a brand new one. I feel like it might be a new one. I'm just going to see if I can very quickly find out whilst I'm doing this, because it would probably be helpful to know. And I kind of wanted to make sure I knew that before I started recording, but obviously didn't, which often happens. Let's have a look. So there's a really cool, I'll show you what it looks like when I get there. There's a nice what's new section in the Microsoft Teams developer documentation. You go to what's new, and so it's updated. So it's not new functionality, but it has been updated. So if you've tried this before and it hasn't worked, go back and try it again, because it's all been updated, so it should now work. I did actually try this once before. I couldn't get it to work, so I knew it was going to be updated at some point, so it's great to see that now has happened. What I might do is go back and try and do the video that I tried to do before, actually, on using this, and see if I can get it to work. One of the new things that is new, though, is another walkthrough process, another walkthrough guide on using link unfurlings. So Microsoft Teams has this capability called link unfurling, which means that if you put a link in an application, you can define what happens for that preview, and so it gives a nice rendered experience for what that link should look like when users use it, and when they put it in and send messages and cards to one another. You can define what that preview looks like, and so you can choose the information that goes in a process called link unfurling. So there's a nice walkthrough here that goes through exactly what you have to do to make that work. A nice example. This is going to use a thumbnail card to show it. One of the things I really like about these are these they start with a prerequisite section, so you know that, if you just jumped in and you hit a load of problems, actually it might just be because you didn't have some specific prereqs in place. So it's nice to know, do all this, get all this working first, and then these should then make sense. It goes through in a lot of detail about exactly what you need to do, and there's a sample application for you to use as well. And then you can test it out and make sure it works. So I like these very targeted walkthroughs on how to do one specific thing, because if that's all you need to know, then you haven't got to wade through this ginormous sample just figuring out what are the bits that I actually care about. You can go straight to, okay, here's the thing that tells me exactly how to do link unfurling. So I really like that. Okay, some other things. So the Microsoft Teams team have published an article, which is really nice, because this is all about workflows in Microsoft Teams, which I talked about last time, because I saw some stuff in the roadmap around workflows, and I didn't really understand what workflows were, and I thought I'd maybe missed something, and I looked around, I couldn't really find much. And then this week, there's an article about exactly what workflows in Teams are. So, came at a really good time. So if you are also not sure what workflows are, I would suggest you go and read this article. It's kind of interesting. Basically, to kind of summarize the article, I'll give my take on the article. I would say, in a way, they are kind of like Power Automate. It's like a nice fluffy front end on Power Automate. Okay, so take the idea of Power Automate flows and then take some kind of examples that work well in Teams, present them in Teams in a separate app, call it workflows, allow users to add them very easily, and then give them a place to adjust them in Power Automate once they're created. And that's pretty much where you're at. So this is the blog post it goes through. It's got a nice like animated GIF here to show you exactly how you could create one of these things. But it's kind of interesting. So this is one page that's worth reading. The other page that's worth reading, I think, is this browse and add workflows documentation link. So this is kind of shows you how you can go and browse and then add workflows. So down here, this is kind of a workflow. And this is a weird... So I'm going all over the place, but I keep having these different thoughts as they come up. This is a weird departure, actually, from the app model. Because, all right, so this is Power Automate, and actually when you add these workflows, you're adding Power Automate flows, basically. And when you come to edit them, you have to go to like workflows, manage workflows, and it opens Power Automate. However, the way you actually go and get these workflows is not inside an app. It's in a weird kind of first-party experience that's in here called workflows. That sort of prompts a different experience that's not an app. It's more of a kind of first-party integration. So, little odd. Kind of surprised that wasn't an app, really. But then if that was an app, then maybe, I don't know. Maybe people would be less likely to use it. Maybe it would be too much like the Power Automate app as well. So, this is more of a kind of first-party integration that's not really an app because it shows up in a different place, even though you sort of get to it from the same apps menu, but it's not an app. I don't know. It's a little bit confusing, but it's only confusing if you're a developer who knows everything about apps. You know, if you're a user, I can see how this is a really great user experience, and I think that's probably the primary reason they chose it. They didn't think, actually, we should go down the app model because that's what we have. They were like, what's the best user experience? And I get that. And that totally makes sense. It's their application. Like, this is a better user experience. And I think it's nice as well to bring some of this information to users in a nice way. I've talked a lot about no code and low code as being very accessible to users. And I think anything Microsoft can do to enhance that and make it more accessible, I'm all for that. So, yeah, that's worth checking out. It's worth sharing with your kind of non-technical users. If you've got users that, for whatever reason, haven't yet made it into Power Automate flows, but you think actually they would really benefit from doing that if they have tasks that are repetitive, if they could increase their productivity, if they do a lot of moving data around between teams and other apps, then it's worth looking at and seeing if there's something in there for them. Okay, and finally, the other thing I wanted to talk about is a blog post that Mark Longton has published on the Microsoft Tech community. And this is all about reliability in Microsoft Teams. So this is not specific to development. This is more about the kind of inside the factory, how the sausage is made of Microsoft Teams, and specifically how the Teams team work really hard to keep reliability metrics high with everything that's going on, and as they're growing the product and as they're adding new features and all the rest of it. So this is a very detailed blog post, and there's lots in here that I didn't know and I thought was really interesting. It's interesting as well. We'll go through the blog post in a minute, but it was kind of interesting to me as a developer, as an architect, as somebody who writes systems like this on a smaller scale that have to be up 24/7, that have to be well architected, that have to have an active architecture where you have to think about downtime and resiliency and operational speed and delays and all the rest of it, single points of failure, and all these different development practices that to enforce that. It's great to see, a development team of the caliber of, the Microsoft Teams team go into some detail about their thinking and their architecture choices and their trade-offs and some of the things that they do as well to ensure continuous reliability. So let's go to this blog post then, and there's some interesting things in here. They've got their core principles. I've got some description here around how they architected for an active architecture model. talking about single points of failure, talking about observability, kind of really important, and then this fault isolation model. If you've ever heard anyone talk about rings, ring 3, ring 4, ring 2, then this is what this is. And I've never seen it described quite so well in kind of non-NDA content. So this is a really nice place to point people at as well if they want an understanding of the ring model that Microsoft uses to deploy stuff. Then check this out, because this is not NDA. This is kind of publicly posted, so you can share this with people, and it just kind of goes through some of their best practices around deployment. This, by the way, also explains why it takes a long time to deploy stuff inside Microsoft or out, from Microsoft, from teams, where you might see something on the roadmap that's been released, but still you don't have it in your tenant. That's because it has to roll out across these different teams, and released normally means I think that it's gone into kind of ring 3 or ring 4. But it'll take time. Like here, it says slow rollout across rings is required. And so it can take time to roll out these various things. This is also, by the way, another reason why you may see things in demos, you may see things in Microsoft presentations or on screenshots that you don't have in your tenant. So that's because some of those things are in these inner rings and you haven't got those yet. Yeah, and there's some other things towards the end here about kind of change management or deployments, lifecycle. This is a really good blog post to read. If you manage a team, if you manage an architecture that has to be reliable and stay up all the time, then you hopefully know a lot of this stuff already. If you are managing an architecture that doesn't stay up all the time and you want it to stay up all the time, then maybe you should read this, because this will give you lots of pointers of where to go next, and also some of the terms to start looking up and understanding. Quite often it's not knowing where even to start. Where do you even go? What's the thing you need to Google, and what's the course you need to look up? This blog post will give you lots of those high level ideas and high level words to start looking into if you are just starting out on this journey as well. And it's interesting. So, Microsoft Teams has grown massively, has more or less stayed up, for the past couple of years, whilst we've massively increased our use of it. And so understanding more about how they do things, I think, is a good idea. All right. I think that's everything from me. Kind of slightly disruptive day for me today, which is why I'm recording this one a bit late. We had our power out here for quite a few hours this morning. No disaster or anything. It was planned. It was having some electrical work done, but it's kind of has that disruptive impact on the day that I didn't plan for. So lots going on this week though, so we'll see how that goes. And it's all starting to get interesting as well with some announcements with what Microsoft is going to be talking about soon. It's worth checking out All About Microsoft, Mary Jo Foley's blog, who's got some ideas on what these upcoming announcements might be. So we'll see. I think they're going to hit probably next week. I think there's a big announcement Microsoft has said. So that's worth looking into. And as soon as it happens, if it affects teams, if it affects development, I will be talking about it, blogging about it. So you'll see it from here as well as from everywhere else. All right, I think that's everything I want to talk about this week. Kind of a short one, I think. Oh, no, maybe not. 14 minutes in. Never mind. But yeah, whatever it is you're doing, have a great day today, what's left of it, and I will talk to you again next time.